ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 350.
Oh, that's a big-ass number.
That is a big-ass number. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hello, Saturn.
Hi.
We don't have any housekeeping.
Oh, it's episode 350.
It's episode 350. You can jump to the timestamp in the show notes to get to the topic, and this is 350. We did 350 of these, really more than 350.
That's true, yeah.
But we've counted 350 of them. So we've proved two things.
Yeah.
One,
we'll
just talk about anything, and two, that we can count. Yeah.
Yes.
So these two points now proven.
Yes.
At least to 350.
Yeah.
And join us next week for episode 349.
We say we can count, but there have been plenty of episodes where one or both of us are like, shit, what number is this? So
there's been times where I've posted the episodes out of order or put the wrong numbers. There's a couple numbers we had two of them of that number because so really we have no idea what episode number this is.
Yeah, it's episode 350 because we just
Which means we're a year from episode 400.
That's true. We're a year from episode 400,
which is man, that's a big number too.
We are also 10 episodes away from our 6-year anniversary, I believe.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Weird,
right?
My week. I downloaded Journey on Steam. It came out on Steam. Forgot how just fucking great that game is. What a great game.
Nice.
I remember that was the game that came out on PS3, and everyone's had this big. There's this big to do about how long a game should be.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 hours long.
By the way, I'd just like to say, to prove that we can't count, we're actually 14 episodes away from our 7-year anniversary.
Great. We did numbers. I bought that, and my daughter immediately took it and played it because it was a game that was easy.
Yeah.
She defined her. This is how she categorizes games because we talked about genres last episode and how so many designations are useless.
Yeah.
When I ask if she wants to play games, she always defines them as this: is it a jumping game?
Mm-hmm.
Because the question is always: is it a jumping game or a game where you don't have to jump? And what she means is she would like to have the option to jump, but she can't platform.
Oh.
If there's a platform, she will walk right into it and then get upset that she fell into a pit.
Right.
So it's just her asking, are there jumping related obstacles? And this is how she classifies all games in the whole world.
That's a good classification.
Are in these two jumping and not jumping games, and that's it.
You know, sometimes you need to break things down into a simple binary first, and then you can subcategorize.
Well, but I also feel like there's weird exceptions, like Bionic Commando does not have a jump button, but she'd probably call it a jumping game.
Yeah.
You know, so even that genre designation
is it breaks the binary.
Functionally fuzzy.
Yeah.
Is what?
Dang.
Yeah, Journey's fantastic. If you've not played Journey, get it. I got it on sale on Steam. It's like $7. I don't know if it just released on Steam or if it has been out for a while and I just caught it on sale.
I think I have it on PS Plus, maybe.
But man, what a just a great, gorgeous game.
No,
I'm still playing.
Play it if I could ever get a PlayStation 5.
There you go. It's on Steam, so you can play it on Steam.
Yeah, that'd mean buying it again.
I'm still playing Terraria. I'm pretty deep into that one. I think I've defeated 2 or 3 bosses.
Nice.
I discovered that if you dig down far enough, you find hell. It's down there. I was just digging around. All of a sudden, it was like lakes of fire and demons everywhere, and I was like, "Oh shit! I went too far."
I have played that game all of once because there was a Game Pass quest for it the other day, and I dug down until I got the quest, and then I turned it off.
I've been having a really good time with it. It's just a fun time waster. It does because I played the game when it came out, like 1.0, and it was interesting, but you know, there just wasn't enough there. There's so much content in this game now. Man, it's a lot of content. A lot of like quests in different areas and tons of bosses and secrets. Like, it's just really cool.
I've learned that games like that are that freeform without clear objectives, I cannot get into them. Something about it turns me away.
There is certainly like a narrative thread that doesn't exist in something like Minecraft. It's
Right.
definitely more focused. There are objectives. You get NPCs in your town and they tell you stuff
Right.
and you can go do the stuff. But it's pretty open about like the order you do things in and stuff like that.
That's fair.
The boss encounters, really the game seems mostly structured around these boss encounters where they start easy and get progressively harder and you know, you can kind of create an objective there. But no, it is very much just like you could just never fight any boss and just dig around and build stuff if you wanted to.
Right.
Also, still, I don't know if I talked about it last recording session. I've been playing Jamestown Plus, which we talked about recently on our Shmup episode, and I hadn't played it at the time. And I have now played just gobs of it. And oh my God, just a fantastic shmup.
Nice.
I have discovered that there's a glitch in the game where whenever I turn on CRT mode, it puts like a CRT filter on the game.
Right.
The game will suddenly run at half speed.
Oh, no.
And so I've been utilizing that to finish the harder sections of the game.
Nice.
Because it's real hard. It's a hard game.
Wait, so anytime you turn on the CRT filter.
It's anytime I turn on CRT mode, and then after I play like 10 minutes of a level, it starts running at like half speed.
Huh.
I don't know why. It's
Weird.
the weirdest thing. And sometimes it doesn't happen. But the first time it happened, I immediately went straight to doing the hardest things that I could find in case I couldn't repeat it.
Right.
And I did repeat it one more time. And the third time I tried, I failed. But man, just oh my God, it's so good. It's so packed with so many different ships and levels and stuff to do. It's just a blast.
Nice.
And the soundtrack is, what an incredible soundtrack. Like top 10 video game soundtracks. It's amazing.
Dang.
It's just been a blast. So, not Journey. Jamestown has been my go-to shmup as I take a break from Crimson Clover. For no particular reason, it's still fantastic.
Nice.
But I just decided I was going to.
Nice. I finished the FF6 Pixel Remaster.
Yes, I'm I think I'm halfway. I'm a little past the sealed gate.
Okay. Yeah, you're about halfway.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will talk about it more later, but it's got some weird glitches compared to the previous versions of the game.
I've seen you having some complaints about it.
Yeah, it's weird because they fixed several of the glitches that the Super NES version has and introduced new glitches.
Yes.
They have been patching it, though, so maybe those will be worked out. I did try to contact Square Enix support about one of the glitches.
Yeah.
And first of all, they thought I was talking about the old version of the game and not the Pixel Remaster.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, the Pixel Remaster. And they were like, okay, well, what version number? And I'm like, the current one. Whatever version Steam gives you when auto update is on.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, there's not an indicator on the title screen. I don't know what version number it is. And they're like, well, what errors are you having? And I explained that I was getting soft locked, essentially, because my characters were getting stuck out of bounds. And it happened twice in 2 different locations, and one of them was reproducible. And they're like, and how does this happen? And I explain it, and then I send them pictures, and they said, okay, we can't address that. That's not something we address through technical support. We only address if the game isn't working correctly. I can't fix it if there's a glitch. What I recommend you do instead is upload a video of you having the problem to YouTube so that somebody can see it.
Perfect. You did it.
Yeah. So, good job, Square Enix support. It's
I will say that the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster, I've finally discovered my premier way to play JRPGs.
yeah.
So in Steam Big Picture mode, which is how I play most of my Steam games, is on my NVIDIA Shield. I solved my issues I had with it.
Nice.
It's now my primary Steam Link thing.
Excellent.
So when you hit the home button, it pulls up the Steam overlay and you can open a walkthrough with a guide.
Yeah.
And then that stays up. So when you hit the home button, it goes away. So I can just flip back and forth between my home button to view which part of the guide I'm in and then right back to the game.
Nice.
And it removes the need to have like my tablet with the PDF of the guide pulled up.
Yeah.
And it's just so nice. So I get into a battle, I hit the auto battle button, and then I open the guide to see what I have to do next, and then I close it, my battle's over, and I move on to the next thing.
Nice.
And it has just been the best way to play a JRPG of all time. It's all on one screen. It's so good.
Excellent.
So good.
Yeah, I always just keep a laptop in my living room so that when I'm playing a game, I can just have that sitting in my lap.
I do that too, but sometimes it's just a pain in the ass to have like the laptop in my lap and then I'm looking back and forth. I don't know. It just bothers me to have like more than one thing going on, you know?
Well, that also lets me have Discord sitting there in my lap so that I can chat with people. But also, I started and subsequently finished Nier Replicant.
Okay. I'm having a hard time telling if you hate this game or not.
So, me too.
I thought
for a while
you did, and then you're like, I played 90 hours of it.
It's not 90 hours. So, I'd been putting this off for over a year now because I had planned on getting to it when it came out, and then just other shit was around. And so I didn't get to it for a while there. So I finally got around to playing it. And I'm almost immediately turned off by the character design because
it's bad.
Oh God,
it's
oof. The character outfit for this character Kane, she
hypersexualized.
Yeah, she wears a negligee the whole time for no reason, and one of the characters gives her shit for it constantly. As if that somehow like makes it okay, the fact that they're tongue-in-cheek about it. It does not make it okay. This woman has her ass hanging out the entire game. And also, her negligee has underboob windows for some reason. That's not a thing.
Yes.
Nobody has ever asked for that.
Well,
ever.
no, people have asked for it many times.
Nobody
just
who
not,
wears
not
them.
in my video game.
Right.
That is otherwise unrelated to boob windows.
Yes. It's just very weird. It's a very... so the outfits are dumb, and some of the plot also is dumb. However, the gameplay itself is actually pretty decent. Like I had been told going into it that it's not designed by Platinum, so it doesn't have their kind of action gameplay. Don't expect that. It is based on an older game by Square Enix that they tried to make in-house, and they're not good at making action games. They just kind of cleaned up the battle system a little bit. So my expectations were pretty low. And when I started playing it, it's actually pretty fun. Like they did a good job of making it feel like it is a decent action game.
Yeah.
The side quests are the worst thing ever. Like,
oh no.
Like they range from the vanilla MMO side quest of go kill 3 sheep and come back to actively hateful side quests.
Yeah.
The worst of them was one where you have to grow a flower. Technically, you have to grow 10 of them, but once you have one, you have seeds, so then you can just grow 10 more.
Of course.
However, you can't get this flower. You can't buy it anywhere. You have to grow it.
All right, so you go get a seed.
Yeah, so you go get a seed. The thing is, there are no seeds for this flower anywhere in the game. The way that you can get a seed is for having grown one of this flower. But how are you supposed to grow this flower if you don't have a seed? I might think that you would ask.
What a great question.
Well, the way you do it is by cross-pollinating different flowers so that they can mutate into this flower.
Oh my God.
And in order to get this flower, you have to cross-pollinate 2 different colored flowers that have a 5% chance of growing this flower. But one of the 2 flowers you have to use to get that one, you can't get a seed for it. You have to cross-pollinate it from 2 different flowers that have a 20% chance of making that flower. But here's the kicker. To grow a flower takes 24 hours of real time.
Oh my God.
But you can't get the seeds until the flower is dyed, which takes an additional 24 hours of real time. So you have to wait 48 hours after you've grown them to get the, and you only had the 5% chance of it even showing up. And you have to wait the 24 hours after you plant it to know if it happened. So on the old version of this game on PS3 and Xbox, on Xbox 360, people learned you could just spoof the time. You just adjust your system's clock and then your
right, so it
grow.
thinks the time has passed.
The problem is the current systems don't let you do that without disconnecting them from the internet. However, you can adjust your time zone. So if you adjust the time zone on your system all the way back to UTC minus 12, plant your flowers, and then adjust your time zone up to UTC plus 14, you can see what flowers you got. And if you got the wrong things, you just readjust your time zone back, reload your save file, and plant them again. So after 2 hours of me planting seeds and spoofing the time, I finally got the fucking flower I needed.
So, again, do you hate this game? Because I can't tell.
I think the thing is the game hates me, is really...
Well, that part is obvious.
Yes. Outside of the side quests, I've really enjoyed it, and I would recommend people play it and not do any of the side quests.
Are the side quests necessary at all?
They give you 0 experience.
Well, God damn it, Saturn. What are you fucking doing with your life over there? What do they give you?
Money. So, and it's not super easy to get money in the game. So I would recommend just doing the easy side quests to get some money and ignore all the rest of them because they're stupid.
Or just cheat table myself some money.
Yeah. If you're going to play it on PC, definitely use cheat table to just give yourself those fucking flowers and some money and just, you'll be done.
Yeah. Well, I still don't know if you hate it, but we're going to...
I will say, so I've gotten the second ending now, and there's 5 total endings. And the first playthrough, I was like, that was okay. It was a little dry. I was expecting more for a Nier game because Nier Automata really fucked with my head. And then I started the second quote playthrough, which the first playthrough took me 39 hours mostly because of fucking flowers, and the second playthrough took me 4 hours.
I still need to go get the more playtime on Nier Automata. Yeah. I think I finished it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's so good. So the second ending, you get to actually hear what the enemies are saying throughout the game instead of it just being like gibberish monster language.
Right.
And you get to learn that you're a fucking monster and you're destroying children the whole fucking time. And these people have lives and that guy's just trying to save his daughter and you're a fucking monster. And it definitely gave me the same vibes that Automata did.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. That's where I expected that to land. Let's do the news. First up, allegations of toxic workplaces and sexism are now being levied at PlayStation Studios.
It's just fucking everyone now. It's every game developer.
Nintendo and Microsoft still haven't.
That we know of, yeah.
That we know of, right. Right. Pardon me, I should say have not had widespread allegations that we've heard of.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember hearing about pretty much any Japanese company yet, but it could also just be cultural differences.
Yeah, Japanese companies seem much more hush hush.
Yeah,
they seem much more concerned about public perception. Like, hey, we'll do anything to keep this from getting out. Like,
and also the there isn't as much openness about even discussing that at all over there.
True.
So
so that sucks. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
A sequel to Neo Geo game Ganryu has been announced.
Yes, I believe for Switch. I don't remember if it was also on other platforms or not.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's a deep cut.
Right.
Developed by Visco Corporation.
Yeah, one of them.
The Bang Busters people.
They also made some puzzle game on Neo Geo that I don't remember.
Puzzle de Pon on
Was
MVS.
it Puzzle de Pon? Nice.
Yep. They're the Puzzle de Pon on MVS ones. Super Drift Out. Not a lot. Because I looked them up whenever we were going to read this. Cheeky Cheeky Boys on the Mega Drive.
I did play a lot of Puzzle de Pon.
Can't forget about Cheeky Cheeky Boys. New update to Chrono Trigger offers 21:9 support. Steam Deck verification also added to the game. Now, because I bought this, it was on sale for like $7, and I was like, well, shit. I'm pretty sure Saturn said this was kind of the definitive version of the game.
It has kind of become
previously.
It originally...
Like it wasn't at launch.
Right. At launch, it was trash. But they have fixed it up a lot. The only complaint that I have about it is that the widescreen modes in it, originally just widescreen mode, now modes since it has 21:9, are awkward. Because the game obviously was made for 4:3 on Super Nintendo.
Right.
And so it kind of feels like things are cut off on the top and bottom to give it widescreen. But that's fine. If you can get past that, it's a very good version of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I might tackle it after Final Fantasy VI.
Nice.
We'll see. Super Nintendo World at Universal Hollywood is officially opening in 2023.
Barring further COVID.
D&D Gold Box Classics collections are coming to Steam. This is pretty exciting for me. They do seem to be talking about including some quality of life improvements and some additional software. Now there is a third-party piece of software for some of the Gold Box Classics that adds basically modern amenities and mapping and all sorts of stuff, and it's unclear if they're using that software, a version of that software, a licensed version of that software, a ripped-off version, their own version, which titles are going to have it, because even that software, that Gold Box companion software, doesn't support every Gold Box title. So there's still a lot not really super known about it, but I'm always excited to see more old school D&D Gold Box games not only be made available, but be made more
accessible,
playable. Yeah, they're pretty
obtuse.
They're pretty dense. Yeah. It's a lot, man, and they're real tough. So I'm excited at the prospect, but the execution is yet to be seen.
Let me ask you this: so do you have some of the GOG versions of these, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
And it's just the DOS version. It's not like something
just
weird.
Runs in DOSBox.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was kind of hoping that like maybe they would have found one of the weird ports of these, like Amiga or Apple II or something, that looked different than the DOS version, just to preserve that. But I guess not.
We'll see. We really don't have a lot of details about it. Right? It comes out, I think it's March 23rd, so it's coming out in a few days.
Soon,
real super soon. Reggie apparently left the GameStop board because they had no plan at all.
What? GameStop?
And you know what's weird is I could have told Reggie that. I don't know why he had to go work there for a year to fucking figure it out.
Well, they obviously have a plan. Their plan is trade in your games and save.
No. This new segment paid for by GameStop. Trading your games insane. New puzzle game, In the Dark, releasing for Game Boy.
Yeah, for black and white Game Boy.
Who needs to buy a PlayStation 5? You just fucking buy Game Boy games.
Maybe I should. You know what? I can get a Game Boy.
You can get a Game Boy, especially a black and white one.
Right?
Alien Soldier, Super Fantasy Zone, and Light Crusader added to Nintendo Switch Online Genesis Online.
Nice.
So that's good.
Yeah, for the
Fun
people
games.
who got the expansion pack.
Konami announces another Silent Hill skateboard.
Oh.
Because the first skateboard did so well.
Apparently.
They wanted to make another.
It must have done well enough that they were like, we need to make more of these.
In my head, I'm like, how many did they even make? Like, if they just made like 100, they would have sold out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What's the...
I can tell you, because I am tapped into the Silent Hill community, because I'm a big Silent Hill fan, the first skateboard not received well.
Really? I'm shocked by that.
People were generally upset by the fact that it was even a thing. So I am shocked that it did well enough that they would have made another.
Was it that it was a bad skateboard, or that you think there's little cross-pollination between skateboarders and Silent Hill fans?
That seemed to be the latter of those. Also, the few people that were like, I am a fan of skateboarding, still would say, but I am offended that this is the only Silent Hill that we are getting.
I think Konami would be shocked to learn this information.
I know.
You should draft an email.
Yeah, I'll write it to him right after I contact Square Enix support again.
Serious allegations levied at Ori developer Moon Studios.
Yeah, and they are... I don't know if you read this.
I did. I just read the headlines on this one. I didn't read the deets.
Oh, there is...
Is it bad?
Yeah, it is. Among the bad things said, there was some casual anti-Semitism.
Oh, no.
It was... and the
there's red flags, and then there's giant bank-sized red flags.
And the thing is that it seemed like that it wasn't serious because one of the two co-founders of the studio is Jewish. So it seemed like one of those, we're going to say some dumb offensive shit to our friends, except for they said it in the company chat system where everyone could see it.
My God.
So it's just one of those things. I don't know if it was so much that it was horribly offensive, in a clearly unprofessional way.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
I don't know.
I did see a funny comment on the Reddit thread about it, where somebody was like, well, this will just kill off Microsoft's chances of ever buying them. And somebody else said, yeah, because Microsoft has never bought somebody who has serious allegations levied at them.
They just fucking waited until Activision was actively on fire, and they're like, yeah, that looks good. We're going to buy that.
Right.
This is fucking fantastic. We're also going to release the Microsoft Duo.
Connect 3.
That brings us to the topic at hand. This week we're talking Mortal Kombat, which of course you'll remember as the 1995 film.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited to talk about.
Indeed.
I cannot wait.
Yes.
Also, April Fools.
Yes.
This is our April Fools episode. We're doing the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yes.
We're
Normally
not
we
joking.
make that joke, but this time it's not a joke. We're actually covering the movie.
We are, yeah. So here it is.
Which, you know what? I'm fine with that, because I have played the first Mortal Kombat game, and I don't know that I have that much to talk about that we haven't already talked about it.
I've got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
Man, I've got a lot. Let's talk release info. Its theatrical debut was August 18th, 1995, distributed by New Line Cinema, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who did Event Horizon, Resident Evil, Alien vs. Predator, and the Monster Hunter movie. So all great films.
Apparently, I accidentally typed that as Alien vs. Predator.
It was the sequel to Alien vs. Predator. It was this guy, Alan. And it was him versus Predator.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like some dude like in an accountant with a stapler.
It was a short film, so it worked out fucking fine.
Poor Alan.
Let's talk First Encounters.
Yes.
I saw the first. I guess you have to call them the first two, the original Mortal Kombat movies.
The OG
a few
Mortal
times,
Kombats.
just on like Stars in middle of the day in the summer kind of thing. I always preferred the sequel.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I think it's because the sequel was just so fucking over the top.
It's fair.
Stupid. That it was, it almost felt like it was going full Gremlins 2, where it was just like, we don't even fucking care anymore. We're going to do literally whatever we want. But I've come around on this one.
Yeah.
In time, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I saw this on HBO or Cinemax or one of those cable channels we were stealing at the time. And it was a movie. The thing is, it had already been hyped up to me by all my friends. They were like, this is the best movie in years.
Now, you never were a massive Mortal Kombat fan.
No, not really. I always preferred Street Fighter. And so like I had played a lot of it. Like a friend of mine would bring over the Genesis version a couple times a week at that point. So we had played plenty of it. And so I was well versed in the mythos. So I knew the characters and everything.
The grand mythos of Mortal Kombat.
Exactly.
You know what? For when it came out, it was a decent amount of mythos for a fighting game.
For a fighting game, it was a ton.
Yeah.
And so my expectations were, this is going to be a fine piece of cinema, and it wasn't. But I did at least respect it for not having completely offended the source material like Street Fighter and Super Mario Brothers had. So, it had that going for it.
Yeah, to its credit, it's probably one of the more accurate to its source material video game movies ever made.
Yeah.
Realistically.
This and Silent Hill were pretty close. This is still not close to the source material, though. I would say Silent Hill is much closer than this is, because this deviates in many ways.
Yeah. We'll get into that. Tell me about the development of this film that I'm sure was just totally seamless.
Oh, yeah, because Paul W.S. Anderson was involved, so perfect.
Yes.
So from what I was able to read, the rights to the film were actually acquired before the game was released on console, when it was still an arcade exclusive.
Oh, wow.
Some dude, some producer guy, was at a party with Midway people, and there was an arcade machine there for some reason, and he was like, this is going to be big with the kids, I gotta get the rights to this. And he was trying to find a studio to back him up, and everybody was like, no. And finally he was able to get New Line involved, and so they formally went to Midway, and Midway was like, no, we've seen what video game movies are, we don't want involvement in that. And finally, they did talk them into it, which, again, before it even released on console. So that's, pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they brought in Paul W.S. Anderson, who was pretty new, inexperienced director. He had done some movies before this, but nothing with like visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
So he was.
I'm gonna guess, and I'll talk more about this later, that he had also never done a movie with a martial arts movie.
Nothing with many action scenes. No.
Uh-huh.
So he was really learning as he went, as you would say. I did find this quote about the visual effects specifically. Quote, Goro frequently broke down, and the person operating Goro from inside could only do so for 2 minutes at a time due to lack of oxygen.
That explains all the cuts.
Yeah, apparently
all of the Goro cuts.
They had intended for Goro to be in a lot of the movie, and then once they started filming the first scene, they were like, "We're not going to be able to do that."
Well, and you can kind of feel it because there's one scene where Goro has like a long discussion with Kano.
Yes,
and he's like talking, and he's not a big dumb idiot, you know. And you're like, oh, this is like he's like kind of sophisticated. And then the rest of the movie, he's just going, never says another fucking word.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck has happened? Like, you set him up as like this actual character, and then you're like, yeah, now he just shakes his fists in the air and screams.
Yeah. Well, that's all that the guy could do anymore because he couldn't breathe.
Yeah. It's like, please, I need oxygen.
Nobody thought to run like a tube in there. I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway.
I don't know, man. To be fair, it's not that absurd in the realm of like big monster suits for people to only be able to do it for a couple minutes at a time.
Right. But usually that was because of like heat or whatever.
I was watching the behind the scenes for the second Gamera movie in the first reboot. And the person in the suit was talking about how there are no, like some of the old like kaiju movies, you can see like eye slits cut and stuff.
Right.
He's like, no, we didn't cut I can't see anything. So he crams in this big fucking turtle and then has to blind act through a delicately put together city made of miniatures and special effects. And I'm like, who fucking thought this was a good idea? And it was. It's an amazing film. But yeah, I was like, what do you mean you can't see anything? He's like, yeah, I'm blind in there. Totally blind.
Nice.
Anyway.
So also at Anderson's encouragement, the actors ad-libbed much of the film's dialogue, which you could probably tell.
What?
My favorite quips that I saw that were that were confirmed ad-libbed. Thank God I didn't ask him to park the car, and those were $500 sunglasses, asshole.
Which I believe were both delivered by Lyndon Ashby, who played
Correct.
Johnny Cage.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah,
he is He's a guy.
He's legally an actor.
Legally. So yeah, most of the actors did perform their own stunts.
Now let me say something about this. Because I watched a lot of martial arts movies.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of behind the scenes martial arts movies. And it is not a good idea for actors to perform their own stunts if they are not actors who have training and do that regularly.
Right.
Jackie Chan does his own stunts because he's got the training, right? But it is normally not a thing you want to do for risk reasons, for believability reasons. It's difficult to get actors to basically act appropriately in these stunt situations. And the less inclined you are toward it, the more you will get injured.
Right. And apparently the guy who played Liu Kang was the only one who had formal training.
Yeah, and you can see that in the movie. It shows a little. It's not stellar, but it shows.
Whereas everyone else received, quote, several weeks of fight training.
Oh, just some weeks?
Yeah.
A few weeks?
Yeah, several weeks. And there were several injuries. The dude who played Cage bruised a kidney. Sonia dislocated a shoulder. Liu Kang fractured 2 ribs, and it went unreported because he was worried it might interrupt filming, so he just went through with it. Oof. And he told the guy, I think it was the Reptile guy, he was like, hey, don't hit me right here because I think my ribs are bruised.
Yeah.
And just kept going. Also, I learned that originally Cameron Diaz was cast as Sonia.
Oh, my God.
And they didn't recast her until very late. And so the girl who did play Sonia was busy filming Billy Madison at the time.
Yes, Bridget Wilson Sampras.
Yeah, so she was filming a better movie, and then she came in late to do all of her scenes, and so she didn't get the several weeks of training. She just got on the set training from Liu Kang.
She also did Sonia Blade's voice in MK11, the video game.
Yes. Well, they brought in several people from the movie for MK11 for special.
Did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a DLC pack where you could download skins for the characters that make them look like they're from the movie.
Oh no.
Yeah. Shang Tsung also came back for it.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so it was just Liu Kang training her on set, like, this is how you throw a punch without, hurting yourself, and she dislocated her shoulder. So, good times. They did want to keep a PG-13 rating, and they didn't want an R rating, so they went to the MPAA and were like, what exactly are the things that would make this be an R rating? And they were told those things, and they made sure to avoid exactly those things and nothing else.
Yes.
So they were told, you can't kill off a character on screen. You cannot have someone die on screen. That's an R rating. Unless they're not human, then it's fine.
Yeah.
So they made sure that all of the non-human characters died on screen as much as possible, but none of the human characters. Also, the character of Reptile was added late because test audiences were, quote, unimpressed with the film's fight sequences.
Let me tell you something. The implication that the reptile scenes were added to improve the fight sequences is the most laughable thing in the entire development of this film.
Yeah, so because of that, the actors and the director had no idea what Reptile was going to look like, the CG form.
Yeah.
So it was just Robin Shaw, I think his name is, just fighting the air.
Also, there's only really one reptile fight scene, and he's only fighting with the CG version for a couple seconds.
Yeah, and all that was the stuff that was added in, yeah.
God.
Yeah. And like most of the movie was filmed overseas, and that scene was filmed in a soundstage in California.
Let's talk plot.
Okay. There is legally a plot to this film.
Step me through the basic idea.
Okay,
here.
so again, there's some deviations from Mortal Kombat mythos, so brace yourself.
Okay, all right. Hold on, let me forget everything I know about MK
All right.
Mythos. Done. Great. It's out the window.
Yeah.
I'm fresh. I'm ready.
All right. So at some point in the past, the Elder Gods talked the Outworld, which is another realm, out of attacking the Earth by convincing them to abide by some arbitrary rules instead. Specifically, a martial arts tournament would be held once a generation between their warriors and Earth warriors, and if they won 10 times in a row, they could just take the Earth. So they basically went to these people and they were like, so no, you can't have the Earth, but if you keep breeding children for 9 generations that can win, then they can have the Earth, assuming that they still want it by that point. So
Yes.
that's some really dumb rules to agree to in the first place. So they have these competitions, and they have won 9 times now. So this is the deciding round. I don't know why Earth only has to win once and they have to win 10 times, but I didn't write the rules.
Yeah, this is the first of the many rule changes that occur. It's like this whole movie is like playing a board game with someone who goes, "You'll figure it out when you play," and then as you play, they keep throwing more rules at you that undermine previous rules, and you're like, "Why don't you give me the whole fucking thing at once?" Because I feel like you're just making shit up.
Right.
Okay, Saturn, before we get any further, I need you to explain to me and younger audience members like me why Christopher Lambert was ever famous, because it clearly was not because of his acting. Like, what does he bring into the table?
So, for people not familiar, Christopher Lambert is a French actor who was born in New York.
Yeah.
And got his start in French cinema. And he appeared in several French films as a background character. I always presumed he spoke French, but I don't know that definitively. I know he barely speaks English. I can say that because I've seen him act.
Yeah.
He was considered for a little while there a sex symbol in Hollywood. I know my mother and several of her friends thought that he was just super hot.
Are they sure?
Mm-hmm. So he came to prominence through Highlander, where he played Connor McLeod of the Clan McLeod.
Right. Which for people that haven't seen Highlander sucks.
Yeah. So
it sucks a lot. I mean, 1986, you gotta take what you can get, but man.
So
what?
From my estimation, just watching the film.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna
Christopher Lambert is still acting.
I know.
He's still acting?
Yeah.
He's in an upcoming film called The Wizard Hunter, The Hunt for Evangelion Crowley.
That sounds like something he would do.
What the fuck is... All right, continue.
So, also he's in Mortal Kombat 11. So he, based on just watching the film, I'm going to guess he was drunk throughout most of the filming of this.
Yeah.
Which I think is something he learned from Sean Connery, who I'm pretty sure was drunk through all of Highlander.
Yeah.
But no, he was an actor legally. He is legally an actor.
I don't understand how he got any roles.
Yeah. He always comes across like he's asleep in everything I've seen him in. Even in like good movies I've seen him in. Like I would argue Gunman is still a pretty fun movie. Even if it's not a good movie, it's a fun movie. And he's in that. And even then, he kind of feels sleepy the whole time. Certainly more so than the other. I think Dennis Leary and Patrick Stewart are in that too. And he's definitely the sleepiest in that film.
So he's Raiden in this film.
Correct. He is a thunder god, Raiden.
For some inexplicable of all the characters for him to play.
Right. Yeah, seeing Raiden in the games, I was never like, that's a Christopher Lambert type.
Yeah. So Raiden shows up. Liu Kang is a Shaolin monk. His brother was killed by Shang Tsung. Yeah, and Liu Kang comes home.
Raiden recruits the people. He is sent specifically as Earthrealm's defender, and he has to recruit people.
So Liu Kang comes home, and you could tell he kind of thinks all this stuff is bullshit. And then Raiden shows up, and everyone's like, oh my gosh. And so there's this scene where Raiden shows up, and Liu Kang accuses Raiden of being a beggar. He's like, why are you listening to this guy? He's just some beggar.
Right.
And he says it by delivering lines so bad. Robin Shou, if he had ever acted before this, I don't believe it. He delivers lines so bad.
If I remember right, I had read that he was mostly a stunt man before this.
That I would believe that for sure. And so he accuses Raiden of being a beggar, and then Raiden teaches him a lesson by sticking his arm out while Liu Kang charges him, and Liu Kang just runs full force into his arm and falls down in slow motion. And this is supposed to be Raiden demonstrating his amazing fighting prowess.
My guess is when they said that they sent everybody to the fighting training camp, what they meant was everybody except for Christopher Lambert, who was way too drunk to participate.
And then I'm like, why don't you just use his fucking electricity powers? And then Christopher Lambert doesn't have to be athletic. He can just shoot electricity.
Exactly.
And that's and they show it off. It's not like they don't want to do the effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Oh, it's dumb.
For anybody who hasn't seen any of Paul W.S. Anderson's other movies, he's a hack.
Just casually throw that out there.
Yeah, he's a hack.
So Liu Kang's our main character in the story. Then we have Sonia Blade, who's a special forces officer who's tricked into going to Shang Tsung's island because she's after Kano. She's trying to arrest him.
Yeah.
And early on in the film, we see Sonia and some other dude storming through Is it Jax?
It's supposed to be Jax.
He's credited as Jax, but never in the film do they clearly state that it's Jax.
It's supposed to be Jax. Doesn't he play Jax in the sequel too?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
The Jax is in the sequel. Yes. I know that. I don't know. So we see Sonya and some other dude storming through a nightclub. It's full of people, and they have full-on pump-action shotguns.
Yes.
And they're knocking people out of the way. People are dancing everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they start fucking shooting people with shotguns.
Right.
And the dancing does not cease.
Yeah, naturally. Why would you stop? You're dancing.
And Sonya Blade, the person playing her, is the least convincing Sonya Blade in the universe.
Yeah.
And then you have Johnny Cage.
For people who haven't seen this, if you have seen Billy Madison, it's the teacher.
The teacher from Billy Madison.
It's the teacher playing Sonya Blade for some reason.
Johnny Cage is there. It's just him being a dick. And
actually, before we get to Johnny Cage, can you imagine if it had been Cameron Diaz?
No.
That would have been so much worse.
So Johnny Cage has this opening fight scene, and there's a lot of build-up. It's like this cool... It ends up being that you're on a movie set, and that's the bit. But it's supposed to be him doing real fights.
Yeah.
And it includes him clumsily hard-cutting around maneuvers that I could personally perform.
Yeah, what's funny is his whole shtick is supposed to be he's an actor who does his own stunts. And it's played by an actor doing his own stunts very poorly.
Yeah. And the whole scene culminates in a scene where Tsung is imitating Cage's teacher.
Yeah.
And calls him the greatest martial artist in the world. In the same scene that he was doing martial arts maneuvers that I can confidently pull off. And that's not saying anything. Yeah. I can't do any martial arts maneuvers. And neither can Lyndon Ashby.
No. It said specifically that he trained in this is behind the scenes. They said that he trained in karate, taekwondo, and kung fu for this film.
And here's the thing, because I don't want it to feel like I'm just shitting on these people. I'm sure they probably trained really hard.
Yeah.
But the thing about martial arts is that actual martial arts and martial arts that you do in film are very different.
Yes.
Just because you're a good martial artist doesn't mean it's going to look good on screen. And if you watch a lot of behind the scenes with martial artists talking about their scenes, which I do because I'm a psycho, they talk a lot about moves. They'll be like, oh yeah, this move, you would never do this in real life because you have no power, but it looks really good on the screen, you know? And so basically a lot of these maneuvers are invented for the screen. So knowing actual martial arts won't help you very much in a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So they take a boat to the tournament that was clearly just the set of Legends of the Hidden Temple repurposed into a stupid fog-covered cartoon boat.
Right.
And they're on it for so long, and it's the worst looking set. It looks terrible. And then they get to the island where the tournament's being held.
Yes.
And there's this huge, massive, luxuriant feast.
Right.
And literally 5 seconds into the scene, Shang Tsung has his muscle men wearing socks on their heads kick all the tables over so Sub-Zero can murder one of them.
Yeah, that's what you do with the feast.
It makes no fucking... Why did you have the feast? You set all the tables, there's turkeys everywhere and
Why did somebody prepare that?
Also, why does every feast in these shitty movies have to be 15 fucking turkeys? Who's eating this many turkeys?
Oh, you know, they're cheap birds.
And then we see Reptile for the first time around here, and he looks like fucking dog shit. Mm-hmm. He looks so bad that you can't even really tell what he is.
His human form looks fine.
Yeah.
But his CG form looks like a cereal mascot.
We do see... God... Hey kids, do you like the taste of reptiles in your cereal? No, how'd you get in our house? I'm gonna kill you now. Eat reptile O's.
Get some more lizard licks.
I can turn into a man. Please don't show us. He's just really obsessed with the fact that he can turn into a man.
His chameleon O's.
We also see Goro pretty shortly hereafter, and he looks all right given the limitations of the time. He's not CGI.
Right.
He's practical effects.
The guy that can't breathe, but you know.
Right, but it looks all right. Yeah. Especially in the scene with Kano where he's actually talking and stuff. Right. You're like, okay, yeah. And then we see a series of very, very bad fights. And if you've watched any behind the scenes with martial arts movies, it's a problem in these movies when they have to bring in non-martial artists.
Yeah.
Because non-martial artists do not know how to receive a hit or how to deliver a hit. And they struggle with it. And again, even if they maybe know some martial arts, in real martial arts, you're fucking hitting people. So learning to not hit and to play up getting hit
Right.
is a skill in and of itself, and it's a difficult skill to learn.
Yeah. Which
And
you can learn it in a few weeks, right?
I don't know. I guess not. All these scenes they're terrible fight scenes. And we're gonna get to the good. There are a few good ones later on, but it's you can tell it's mostly non-martial artists. Every now and then they'll have someone who's like Robin Shu is obviously has some basic training. He's not stellar in the movie, but he's okay.
Yeah, it looks like he had already done about a dozen films in China, but not many films here.
Yeah, and he does all right. But anytime there's a non-martial artist in the scene, it's just very bad. It's tons of cuts. They cut long before any hit is delivered.
Right. Well, they can't show people getting hit.
Yeah, and they do in the scenes with actual martial artists.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just embarrassingly bad fight scenes. I mean, it would have been better if they just zoomed out and had people in wigs that actually knew how to fighting.
And what's sad is they went to that much effort to not show people getting hurt, and they still managed to hurt their starring cast.
Yeah, it's honestly it reaches a point where it makes you wonder how much the people making the movie were being careless with their talent.
Completely is the.
I wouldn't want to accuse them of that, but it sounds like they're being careless with their talent.
Let me stop to remind you for a second that Paul W.S. Anderson is a hack.
Oh right, I forgot.
Yeah.
So then Princess Katana of Outworld shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they ran out of like actors. So they just had to get they're just like, hey, you're a person.
You have a pulse.
The person portraying her is Talisa Soto.
Yes.
She's most known for Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
And also a Bond film where she was a Bond girl.
And so not great.
Yeah.
She does real bad.
Yeah, she was a model more than she was an actress.
And then Sonia kills Kano.
Right. Just straight up kills him.
By performing the weakest leg grab I've ever seen in any movie. So basically, she flips around and puts her like ankles around his neck.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to him on the ground being quote unquote choked. But it's just the actor playing Kano and foam's coming out of him, and her legs aren't even really touching his neck.
Which, for the record, is a move that Sonya does in the game.
Yeah, but
it's just performed poorly.
It's performed poorly. In the initial grab, they cut away really fast, and you're like, that looked like shit, but all right, she's probably not a martial artist. She's probably not had a lot of training, so they cut away. And then they got to the close-up, and you're like, all right, now they'll have the close-up look good. No, the close-up looks fucking terrible. It looks like it's the first time she's ever done that to someone in her life.
Yeah.
But after the Kano fight, we for some reason hard cut to Scorpion and Johnny Cage in a forest. Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because all these fights are happening on the beach, and Shang Tsung is watching them.
Yeah.
And then every now and then we cut to a fight that nobody is watching. And you're like, should they be watching? Are these extra fights? Do these count? What is happening? They never tell you. But the Scorpion and Cage fight is actually really cool.
Yeah.
The person playing Scorpion was actually just a stunt ninja, but they liked him to the point that they recast him as Scorpion, making it the first good decision ever made in this movie. And the person playing Scorpion has the best name. It's Chris Casamassa. It's a fantastic name. Casamassa. Chris Casamassa is Scorpion. And it's just a great fight scene. They're in the forest. Scorpion does the little hand thing, and then he takes him to hell, and they fight there for a little bit. And they do a practical effect where he pulls the mask off, and he does the fire breath, and like lava comes out of him whenever Johnny Cage cuts him open. It's just great. It's a great fight scene. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's fun. It has some actual all right fighting going on. It's the only fight scene in the movie that you watch it and you're like, man, that was really good. You know, that felt like a video game. You know.
Yeah, I'd like to take a moment for people who can't see our notes, which only we can see, obviously. All the notes that I wrote about the story are just story beats, and all the notes that you put in were about the fight scenes.
Yes.
And I would like to note that you're telling me about how bad these fight scenes are. Almost every fight scene, I just looked away from the screen and did other things. So I was like, whatever, they're fighting now.
This is why we make the perfect pair. But then we have the stupidest fucking Sub-Zero fight ever. So Sub-Zero is played up as being this badass.
Yeah.
Scorpion just died, and then all of a sudden we hard cut to Robin Shu's character, Liu Kang, in a room, like some kind of temple room with Sub-Zero, and on the floor is 2 buckets.
Of course, because that's what you do.
For no reason.
Just leave him
and
in your
Katana's
temple.
over there mentally telling Liu Kang, you must defeat him with the element that gives life. And Sub-Zero flips into the scene, and you're like, all right, fucking Sub-Zero fight. Scorpion fight was kick-ass. Sub-Zero fight, let's go.
Yeah.
And Sub-Zero stands there and goes, and starts fucking Dragon Ball Z charging up, and this big blue bubble starts expanding out from him.
Right, because he's making the ice ball.
And Liu Kang, and it goes on for like 45 seconds. And Liu Kang is just standing there next to a bucket, and then Katana's talking to him telepathically,
Right.
and then he picks up the bucket, and he throws it at Sub-Zero, and the water in the bucket freezes into an icicle and stabs him and spears him into the wall, and he dies, and that's the whole fucking fight scene for Sub-Zero.
Clearly, Hal from Malcolm in the Middle did not see this scene.
What the fuck? I mean, it's arguable that Sub-Zero is the most popular character ever in Mortal Kombat.
Right. Well, at the time, Scorpion was still more popular.
Was he?
Yes.
Huh.
Very much
Well,
so.
all right, still second most.
Yeah.
And he gets killed by a bucket. And they don't even fight leading up to it. Like, if that was the final blow, all right.
Right.
But it's like 2 seconds and then long charging time, Liu Kang flopping around on the floor, and then he throws a mop bucket at him and he dies.
I wonder if maybe there was more of a fight planned, but that was after Robin Shu got hurt.
I wonder the same. I mean, it's just bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. Goro's a prince, maybe Katana's brother. We don't know.
Yeah, they don't explain that.
Shang Tsung can consume people's souls, which he does through various differing methods that are always slightly different from one another. Yeah. Sometimes they go into his eyeballs, sometimes they go into his hand. Right. It's just weird.
Didn't one go in his mouth?
One went in his mouth. Yeah, they have a Goro fight where they kill some person that we see in one other previous scene, and then when he dies, all the main characters are like, no, and like we've only seen him once.
Not extra.
And Goro just beats the piss out of him.
Right.
And that fight scene was kind of fun. They had Goro like grabbing him with his bottom arms and hitting him with his top arms. Like, you know, there was stuff there.
Doing Mortal Kombat-y stuff.
But then Johnny Cage decides he's going to fight Goro.
Yeah. And everybody's like, no, you can't.
Yeah. And the fight scene with Goro and Johnny Cage is fucking stupid. Johnny Cage punches him in the nuts and then runs away.
But my favorite, that is the dumbest. But my favorite is the build up to the fight where everybody's like, you can't defeat Goro. No one can defeat Goro. And Johnny Cage is like, I can defeat Goro. And they're like, you can't defeat Goro. And then suddenly he's like, I can defeat him. And they're like, okay, we trust you.
He punches Goro in the nards.
Yeah.
And then, first of all, thank goodness he has them, right? Yeah, because we don't know. We don't know he's from Outworld. Right. For all we know, they're in the like under his fucking ponytail. We don't know.
Oh no, he hit me in my head nuts.
Right in Goro's head nuts. So then, really be smarter. It's way up high in the sky. No one's going to reach him up there. Anyway, he chases Johnny Cage out to this cliff. Johnny Cage quips about his sunglasses and then kicks him off the cliff.
Right.
And that's the fight.
Yep.
It's over.
It's the little shadow kick thing, though, so it's okay.
And they show, and first of all, Johnny Cage runs out on the cliff, and it's the shittiest green screen shot ever of him. And then Goro falling off the cliff, they show it, and it's the shittiest green screen shot ever.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
You have to remember, our TVs were much lower resolution back then.
Oh, were your movie theaters?
Totally, yes.
Because they showed this in the movie theater.
I didn't see it in the movie theater.
So they're going to go to Outworld now to fight Shang Tsung.
Right.
And because Shang Tsung has now kidnapped Sonia Blade. And he's going to force Sonia Blade to fight him as the last match.
There is one female protagonist, so of course they had to make her a damsel.
And just before leaving for Outworld, Raiden shows up and tells Liu Kang that he has, quote, nothing more to teach him. after literally teaching him nothing.
Yeah.
And mostly just ridiculing them and pretending he doesn't know what's happening.
Yes. Just like acting like the drunken uncle who was there to watch them the whole movie.
And he's like, I have nothing more to teach you. I can't go to Outworld. You must go. And they're like, yes, we've learned so much from you, drunken Christopher Lambert. That one time you tripped me with your arm. I shall perform that maneuver and defeat Shang Tsung. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And so we cut to Shang Tsung, who suddenly has all these monks around him.
Yeah.
And he has done Sonia's hair. Because she's in a ponytail the whole movie.
Well, he had the Princess Leia.
All of a sudden, she's in this big poofy 80s hair.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's all hair sprayed up. And she's in this, like, leather skirt tunic.
Yeah. He had to give her the Princess Leia treatment.
Put her in this short skirt, and then was going to challenge her to a fight?
Yeah, that's how you
I guess.
I don't know.
And she says no. And then we have the interspersed reptile fight.
Yeah.
Liu Kang kills Reptile. Kitana joins the humans. She says Shang Tsung isn't even from Outworld, but he has some additional realm that goes unclarified. Shang Tsung also adopted Princess Kitana in order to become the ruler of this place, because that's how it works.
Yeah. You know, I want to become king. I better adopt the princess now. I am a king. That's how rule works.
The Reptile fight is mediocre. So basically, Liu Kang throws Reptile into this like statue corpse thing that turns into his body, almost like Reptile turns into a man accidentally. Which is why he's so excited about it in the cereal commercial. He learned he can do this. And the Reptile fight's just mediocre. It's this one most definitely was because Robin Shou was injured.
Right.
But it's just bad and boring. It's better than the Sub-Zero fight, but like literally fights I've had in my personal life are better than the Sub-Zero fight.
Wait, are you saying that you've had a fight that consisted of more than throwing a bucket of water?
More than throwing a... Now I've had bucket thrown fights. Don't get me wrong, but I've had ones that consisted of more than that.
Weird.
So then they go to fight Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
And they show up, and Sonya Blade's like, "No, I won't fight you." And so then Shang Tsung goes, all right, I challenge Johnny Cage. Mm-hmm. And at this point, the implication is that whoever accepts the challenge has to fight him.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cage goes, I accept. He says the words.
Yeah.
And then Liu Kang goes, no, you'll fight me, thus upending any potential rule that they were even going by. Because apparently you can just fight whoever all you got to do is be like, no, you fight me. Or how he delivered the line, no, you fight me. You know, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And the Shang Tsung fight's actually, it's okay. Yeah. It's not amazing, but it's all right. He summons a bunch of souls because that's his thing. And Liu Kang has to fight him. Yep. And then he turns into Liu Kang's brother. and there's some okay back and forth. I do want to say, well, no, I'll get into it later.
All right.
But it's okay. It's an okay fight scene. Yeah. Obviously, Liu Kang kills Shang Tsung, and they all go home happy. And then Shao Kahn literally explodes a temple from the sky and taunts them.
Right.
And they all pose, and then it's over.
Right.
And that's Mortal... I'm sweating right now. That's Mortal Kombat. I'm actually... like, my brow is sweating.
We just had to talk about a movie with martial arts in it, and then suddenly you're sweating.
My matins are through the roof!
That's a pre-show joke.
So let's talk about the film. Now, in this section, Saturn wrote literally one line, and I wrote paragraphs.
Yeah.
As a martial arts film, it's bad, and it has a lot of really bad, hard-to-follow fights involving actors who do not know how to take or deliver a hit. It's just very badly done action, which is a problem in a movie where action is kind of literally the only point of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, we're going to take this game.
I disagree.
What?
I don't think that was the point of the film. I think the point of the film was advertising.
Right, but you're advertising a thing that literally the point of it is to fight one another.
And based on the key demographic, which would have been teenagers at the time, I have to say, the teenage guys I knew who watched this movie thought it was awesome.
I think it just makes me sad that in the mid-90s there were such better martial arts films for a young teenager to watch this and be like, this is the pinnacle of martial arts films.
Well, they weren't saying that. They were saying this is the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat movies.
I guess. I don't know. I guess maybe my bar is higher, man.
Yeah.
I got a higher bar now, okay? I don't just take any old martial arts film.
Right.
All right? The ADR is fucking terrible.
Okay, you can't compare it to other martial arts films and then also complain about the ADR.
I'm going to complain about the ADR. If people don't know, ADR is additional dialogue recording. And basically, most of the audio you record on set is unusable, so your actors have to dub it after the fact. And good ADR is hard to do. And bad ADR is one of those things where if you've ever watched something and something seems wrong, but you don't know what it is, it's probably bad ADR.
And the thing is, almost every martial arts film has bad ADR because they're all dubbed from another language.
Right. Yes, this is true.
So it almost feels natural to have bad ADR here.
Christopher Lambert's ADR was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Because they put this like echo on him, but it just makes it sound like he's shitty dubbed.
Makes it sound like he's not even looking at the microphone while he's talking.
They also add in random sound effects. Like there's one fight where Liu Kang's fighting this unnamed actor or unnamed character. The actor has a name, I'm sure.
No, he didn't.
But he's just credited as like unnamed fighter.
Yeah.
And they keep adding in like lion roars and shit to the characters, and you're like, what are you fucking doing, movie?
It's totally normal. There's just lions
And then there's
everywhere.
the scene where Katana's like mentally talking to Liu Kang. You're like, does she have telepathy or not? And the way they play it out is just like she kind of does, but like,
yeah, I can't tell.
what?
I can't tell if that was supposed to be telepathy or if it was supposed to be him recalling an earlier conversation.
right, but then
or
she's
something.
obviously in the fucking room.
Right.
I'm like, why wouldn't you just say it out loud?
Right.
I mean,
Well, you don't want
everyone
him to
sees
hear.
you. Who to hear?
Sub-Zero.
What's Sub-Zero gonna do? He's trapped in a bubble and killed by a bucket.
Well, he could dodge if he knew it was coming.
The dialogue issues continue. The insistence on saying things from the game is stupid. A couple of them make sense, but like shit like Liu Kang saying flawless victory to himself after a fight where he got the shit kicked out of him multiple times is stupid and makes no sense.
I will say one of the first times I watched this, if not the first time I watched it, it was with some of my brother's friends, and the first time that Shang Tsung says finish him in the movie, that guy was like, oh, as if it was the coolest thing.
I'm going to talk more about Shang Tsung, but first I want to reiterate, Robin Shu, Liu Kang, needs acting classes, possibly more than Christopher Lambert.
I think, one, he had not acted before because he had only done stunt work, and two, I think English is also his second language, so between those two things, it did not help.
Now, it wasn't like it felt like he didn't speak English well.
Right.
It's just the delivery was
is
just
not
so
great.
bad.
Yeah.
He was also he was the ninja in Beverly Hills Ninja that was like helping Chris Farley's character from the shadows.
Was several years after this.
Right. It was a couple years later. But it's just very some of it is like he delivers some lines okay. A lot of it just feels like they should have done another take.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, was that the best? Was that the best take? Really?
That's the best New Line could afford.
Yeah. Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa as Shang Tsung was probably the best performance in the movie.
Yeah.
He was completely over the top, but in like that perfect way for the tone of the film.
Oh, yeah.
And by comparison, everyone else seemed unwilling to commit to the level of gravitas that he injected into every scene. And I think given the circumstances, he gave a very good performance. Shang Tsung was over the top, stupid, and fun. I mean, I would put it on Royal Julia, Street Fighter, M. Bison level of what he brings to this film. If he was not in this, if it was just some other rando and the performance was as bad as everyone else's, this would be a dramatic disaster of a film.
And also, he was invited back to play the voice of Shang Tsung in several games after this because of his performance in this.
He's great. He makes the movie.
Yeah.
I do also like some of the sets are really good when they get to the island and they get off the Legends of the Hidden Temple boat. Mm-hmm. The actual set, like it's that 90s cheesy kind of set.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. They got some good sets. They've got some good. They obviously built some miniatures for some of the Vista like landscape shots.
Some of the sets feel like they're from a syndicated drama TV show from the mid 90s. They're that level of cheese.
But it's a good kind of cheese, you know, and it fits the tone of the movie, you know. Overall, there was some good stuff. Shang Tsung was great.
Yeah,
he was just so fucking over the top evil asshole.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I love
my
every delivery that he gives too.
Yeah. He's great. And I don't think was really in much else. I think he's like still basically known for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I know he was in the 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Yep. He was also in Elektra. He was in Tekken.
He was in The Phantom.
Yeah.
He's so I would say Mortal Kombat is probably his best known role.
Right.
And my final thought is that Sub-Zero was killed by a bucket of water. And someone wrote that. Another person said, that's a good idea. Put that in the script. The script went through multiple drafts. The director signed off, and the production company signed off on Sub-Zero getting killed by a bucket of water.
Also, Midway signed off.
God, Jesus Christ. Now, I've not played enough Mortal Kombat, I guess, because I don't remember Liu Kang killing people with buckets of water. Is it a move, or?
I haven't seen that one, no. You watched Malcolm in the Middle back in the day, right?
I did. And I watch it back in the today also. It's a great show.
There's that one line I always remember where Dewey is saying that he just beat the final boss in Mortal Kombat, and Hal just says, that's impossible. No one can beat Sub-Zero. And clearly he didn't know you just needed a bucket of water.
Right. Obviously. Yeah. That's what you need. So it's some of it's all right. There's just enough good here for it to still be enjoyable, even through the because the thing about bad fight scenes is that they're very boring. Yeah. Because you can't see any of the action. When you can't see any action, it's just like you're looking at nothing, which Saturn was.
Yeah, to me, all fight scenes are pretty boring, whether they're good or bad. I always just turn away and do something else whenever there's a fight scene in any movie. Yeah. So I didn't notice how bad the fight scenes were because I wasn't paying attention at all.
Yeah. Do we want to fire through notable cast? I feel like we've been through...
Yeah, we've been through most of it. One thing I will say, though, is that before they cast Christopher Lambert, they pitched the role of Raiden to Sean Connery.
Oh, no.
And he turned them down.
Was it a rule in the 90s that you had to give the roles to people from Highlander? Like, what fucking happened,
That's my theory, is that maybe when Sean Connery turned it down, he was like, oh, go ask Chris Lambert. I bet he'd do it.
For the love of God, please, if anyone out there's not seen Highlander, please go watch Highlander and explain to me how people didn't immediately watch this and go, this is the dumbest fucking thing ever made.
Then watch Highlander 2, because it's so much worse.
For the love of God, look at
so bad.
the costume on Kurgan. What the fuck? They put him in like half a bald cap. What is happening? So someone explain this to me.
Oh, I love that movie. It's so bad.
How was this a series? They made more than one.
Oh, there's
it was
like
popular.
5,
there's a TV show. Sean Connery's in it.
Yeah, Sean Connery's in the first 2 movies. Yeah.
We didn't really talk much about Kano. Actually, okay performance as Kano. You know, I'll give him that.
This is a random factoid that I learned. The actor who plays Kano is English.
Yeah.
And he has a Cockney accent. However, apparently people at Midway misinterpreted that accent as Australian, so the character was later made Australian in all future games.
Great.
Yeah.
Ed Boon still voices Scorpion.
Yes.
So that's the thing. He's got a movie credit to his name. Tell me about the reception of this film.
So you would be surprised by this since because of your reception to the movie, but it opened at number 1 in the box office. It remained at number 1 for 3 weeks. I want
to interrupt you and talk about the highest grossing films of 1995.
Okay.
This is the competition. 7.
Yeah.
Jumanji, Apollo 13, Toy Story, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Well. All those are good movies.
Pocahontas, also Goldeneye.
Yeah.
I'm legally obligated to mention Batman Forever and Waterworld and Casper.
I really enjoyed Batman Forever.
So maybe not that shocking.
Yeah. It was number 1 for 3 weeks, and its opening weekend gross was $23.2 million. At the time, that was the second highest August opening up until that point ever in the history of cinema.
Oh my God.
The total worldwide box office added up to $124.7 million. The Rotten Tomatoes critic consensus, despite an effective otherworldly atmosphere and appropriately cheesy visuals, Mortal Kombat suffers from its poorly constructed plot, laughable dialogue, and subpar acting.
Jeez.
However, Gene Siskel did give it a thumbs up. It looks like critical reception was mixed as far as whether or not it was worth watching or not. However, audiences that were polled by CinemaScore back when it came out gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale.
What?
Yeah, so it was an A- from fans, rather, from audiences. The soundtrack went platinum within the year and reached number 10 on the Billboard 200. I knew several people with this soundtrack.
For the love of God.
It was very well received when it came out from audiences and did very well as far as financial. It was a success as far as Warner is concerned. Yep.
It's bad. Let's talk legacy.
So there was a sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which came out in 97. There was also an animated sequel, Mortal Kombat Defender of the Realm, which came out in 96. There was also a live-action prequel, which was Mortal Kombat Conquest in 98. And then eventually they rebooted it in 2021, and I watched it last year and completely forgot that I watched it.
I'll say this. The original Mortal Kombat movie is better than the 2021 movie.
That's true. I had was thinking, like, should I watch the reboot as well? And I looked up at synopsis and I was like, I swear I've seen this. And like, I'm looking through like scene by scene the synopsis, and I'm like, I remember that scene. I remember this scene. I remember this completely nameless character. When the fuck did I watch this? I don't remember watching it.
And now, granted, it has much better performances.
True,
but for the main character, they chose a random regular man.
Yeah.
That is not a Mortal Kombat character.
Right.
Literally, a fighting game is an interesting cast of characters that you are attached to, fighting one another. Yeah. Why would you not pick from... I can't...
It's just like some random dude. It's like Mr. Cole.
Like, it's definitely a better constructed movie.
True.
But the original Mortal Kombat is still substantial. I'm not going to forget the original Mortal Kombat for a long time. I cannot remember the 2021 movie.
Right.
And I will say that the 2021 movie, I remember the guy playing Kano did really good.
Yeah.
But there's a good Kano in the original, too.
There was no drunken Raidens in the remake.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is very true.
That's a problem.
It's as far as final thoughts, it's
it's legally a film.
If you like, because 90s cheesy 90s blockbusters is its own genre. And if you like those, I think you'll like it. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you'll probably enjoy it. My problems, I don't know. It's hard. Like, is it a bad movie? Yeah, it's definitely a bad movie. But I think there's enough enjoyable parts that it's worth a watch, if you got the HBO Max. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, if you compare it to other 90s blockbusters like Last Action Hero, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Or
Waterworld?
It's better than Waterworld. I'll give it that.
Or Casper, the live-action Casper movie?
I've never even watched that.
Oh my God, Saturn! You've never seen live-action Casper?
It had Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci, right?
Holy fuck! Yes, we are watching it.
No, thank you.
And me, we're watching. No, we gotta watch it. It's so good.
No,
it's so good.
So yeah,
I mean, it's not good, but
So I enjoyed this for what it was when it came out, but I never thought it was a good movie. I thought it was like a fun, campy popcorn movie. Yeah, and I would say it still kind of holds up as that.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for good cinema and you're just looking for a movie about Mortal Kombat, I think it hits that mark.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those ones where it's like, if you can stomach 90s cheese, then it's okay.
Yeah. It is okay.
It's still one of the better video game movies ever made.
And that's depressing.
Isn't it? Isn't it though? Isn't it really depressing?
We got Silent Hill's better. I got that.
Yeah. I would say all but the last 10 minutes of the Dragon Quest movie is better.
Yeah, all but the last 10 minutes. I'll give you that. I heard one of the Tomb Raiders was all right, but I couldn't finish any of them.
That was Angelina Jolie, right?
Well, there was also that reboot one that came out a couple years ago that I haven't watched.
I watched the Angelina Jolie ones, and they were Mortal Kombat was better.
Okay. What about
There's a Blood Rain movie.
Oh God, yeah, that was.
There was a Dungeon Siege movie.
Yeah, that was Uwe as well.
Yeah.
House of the Dead is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So it's not better than that. It's definitely better than all the Street Fighter movies that have happened. I'm going to say it's better than all the Street Fighter movies that have happened.
I'm going to say it's tied with the original Street Fighter movie.
I'm going to say it's better than Street Fighter. I'm going to say that shitty CG Reptile is better than Sawada.
But it doesn't have the muscles from Brussels.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
I don't know. Street Fighter was a little more stupid.
Yes.
And I think that made it more palatable for me. It was significantly stupider.
I will say that Kylie Minogue was better as Cammy than Bridget Wilson was as Sonya.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this is the longest final thoughts we've ever had because we just can't quite quantify why we don't want to tell you to avoid this shit pile at all costs, because there's some small redeeming quality somewhere that we're like drawn to.
It's fun. It's fun in that stupid way.
Yeah. You know what else is fun in a stupid way?
God damn it.
Our Patreon at patreon.com.
I'm so glad you didn't say our patrons.
You know what else is a pile of shit? Where you can get uncut episodes and Talking Wizards and all the other things I forgot about. After Hours. Yeah. It's a great time. You should come hang out there.
The pre-show where we talk about Maddens.
Yeah. You could also come talk to us in Discord. There's a link in the show description.
Yep.
And we would like you if you did that.
Yes.
For us. We want to thank the following patrons for making the show possible, starting with Captain Koloff
and William Owens,
Retro Game Club Podcast,
Mark Bowler,
Casey McGinty,
Fart Squad, a podcast about social farting,
our producer Guy,
Evelyn Belchev,
Adam Williams,
and Blaster Keaton
are all the patrons we want to thank this week, and we want to thank you for listening.
Indeed.
Except for you, Saturn.
I know.
Because you don't listen.
I don't. I don't even listen to you when you talk.
This is all pre-recorded.
You do an excellent job of just talking around whatever I said.
Oh, it's great. It's a skill. It's the only skill I have. That and critiquing martial arts scenes in movies. So the two things.
You're excellent at that one.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. And as always, let us cling together.